series. So I welcome all of y'all to Gold, which is a gathering of outstanding leaders in various domains. So Gold is a collaborative event of 6 ACM chapters. It is the biggest collaboration of ACM ever, and it has 6 chapters, which include ACM Manipal, ACM PICT, ACM SRM, ACM SNDT, ACM RAIT. Uh, for today's session, we have Dr. Anvitha Prabhakara. Today's session will be on MBA. So moving forward for the speaker, I would like to give a very brief introduction of her because that is what she deserves, I think. Yesterday, when I was going through all of ma'am's on LinkedIn and YouTube, I personally felt I am so glad that today I have this beautiful opportunity to interview her. So Dr. Anvitha Prabhakara
This meeting is being recorded.
is nearly 2 decades across, industry expert, has worked with Fortune 100 MNCs, which include Castrol India, Aditya Birla, Z Network. She is also an internationally certified third degree black belt in combat arts, which she's been training for more than 15 years now. As a business leader in industry crisis and turnover, Dr. Anvitha Prabhakara has seamlessly worked with budget of both 400 crores and Fortune 100 MNCs. Not only that, she is a global woman leader and a recipient of national as well as international awards. Dr. Anvitha is a advisory board of multiple mentorship programs. She's not just a software engineer, MBA, but also a doctorate from UK. She's a panelist for several prestigious marketing and business conclaves, which are at IITs and IIMs. So today it's my honor that I welcome Anvitha ma'am. Yeah, ma'am, you can introduce yourself now.
Thank you, Mrinalini. You've already introduced me so much. I just felt like such an old person, but it's okay. But thank you for introducing me. Thank you. I'm excited to be part of this too. I hope together, you, me, Mrinalini, and the team, Sapna, and all of us, I hope we can make this a useful session for everybody. So that's the objective. So let's see, with my limited wisdom, whatever I can share with you guys.
So for today's session, we'll go by this format. We'll start with those MBA questions. But I personally think that beyond MBA, today that we have Anvitha ma'am with us, we'll little deep dive into the corporate world as well, where she can help us with her experience. So the questions will go in that format. So the very first question, which is the most
Mrinali, just before we launch into this, I think somebody's kept their WhatsApp on. So could you just tell people to switch off their WhatsApp, because that's going to come in the thing. And second, can you hear me clearly?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I'm audible.
Yes, just not as much as I would like it to be audible. You're not so audible. That's why I'm asking you about my audio also.
Okay. Oh, hello. Am I audible enough now?
I think you have to increase your own vocal cord volume.
Okay, yeah. I absolutely get that.
Yeah, that's perfect. See, that is perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
So for today's session, I'd like to start with this very famous question of MBA. Is MBA good for India, like good in India or abroad? Like, what do students prefer more?
What do students prefer, or what do corporates prefer? What do companies prefer?
In general, what do students would like to go for?
That is a question you guys have to answer. No, that is not a question I can answer. What students prefer. So I'll let that pass. But if you're asking in terms of companies, what do they prefer? It's completely, it's completely random. It's completely democratic that ways. An MBA in an IIM is as prestigious as in an ISB, or an XLRI is as prestigious as an MBA from London School of Business or Harvard or any of those, Singapore Asian School and things like that. So really, it doesn't matter. And India is, like, I mean, I'm sure all of you know, and you guys are at the, I would say, very nice time and, space of generation, because India is such a superpower today. And even 10 years back, also, India was a superpower. So an MBA from India and or abroad really doesn't make a difference. It's what you do after the MBA. It's what you do with the MBA that makes all the difference. So I would say that do not get too enamored by an MBA in India or an MBA abroad. Just concentrate on learning and applying well. I think that is what companies look at for. I mean, of course, there is a difference between doing an MBA in IIMs versus, let's say, for lack of any other example, maybe an Amity Business School. So there is a difference when you study MBA in IIM versus Amity Business School. But really, if you looking at India and is it lesser than the institutes abroad? Not at all, not at all. Especially in today's world.
Okay, that is like a very precise appreciation to that. But moving forward, like I would like to answer the second most popular question is that is like MBA. When it comes to MBA, a lot of people are very they want a little work experience on their resume. So it is
Right.
that how necessary is the work experience? And when it comes to the corporate world, as a recruiter, do they look into the work experience prior your MBA, or just the degree and the person, like the character?
The personality. You mean the personality? Yeah. So I think all the questions that, and I foresee this in our entire session today, that all questions that you will ask will always have two parts to the answer. And this question also has, and I can probably, if you ask me questions, I think if we start the session with asking questions about my journey, I think that'll be even more helpful rather than asking the general questions. That said, the answer to this question is MBA better with experience, without experience. So I did MBA with just 1 year experience. Okay, and I say just 1 year because if you look at it from a larger perspective, 1 year is nothing. Very honestly. At that point of time, one might feel, oh my God, I'm losing a year. I'm taking a back step only for studying for MBA exams. But really, in the context of life, it really doesn't matter. 1 year. Okay, that's one part of it. That said, if you're doing an IIM, or let's say as soon as you finish your engineering or graduation, and you immediately go to a very well-established MBA college, MBA institute, be it in India or be it abroad, then the work ex doesn't matter because you're already starting off with a higher step. See, the only difference that happens is at the start of your career, and which is the point at which all of you are right now. But in a matter of 5 years, everything gets evened out. So it's only about getting the step in the door. Okay. So whether you do, let's say, 3 years of work ex and then do an MBA, or you immediately after the engineering or your graduation, you move into an MBA, either way, it doesn't make a difference. Personally, what would I advise? I think now that I have done MBA almost immediately, I mean, the 1 year doesn't count. I would always say work a little and then do an MBA, because there is no dearth of understanding, whether you've immediately graduated out or you worked for a few years. There's no dearth in understanding what you're studying in the MBA syllabus, but the application makes a lot of difference. When you worked and then you come and study MBA, the concepts that you study just make a lot more sense. You're able to see richness in it. So I would say that, but it's totally up to each individual what they want to do. So it's
And moving to the MBA journey.
Oh, sorry, I wanted to add a point there. Sorry, I just remembered. The other point is also that in your campus placements, when companies come for recruiting, somebody who has, let's say, like supposing I had my colleague, which was a scenario. We had my MBA colleagues, some of whom were freshers like me, and some were with 4 years, some were with 10 years work ex and things like that. So obviously the package is higher for them. So if the position that they get is higher than the position a youngster will get who's just after engineering doing an MBA. So that difference is also there. But then, like I said, in 5 years everything kind of gets evened out. So 5-6 years things kind of get evened out. So yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
So moving forward, your MBA journey, like could you all talk about like your journey about like the people that you met or the environment that you studied in, and did y'all connect as well as like our generation? Like we try to connect more, network more. So does that really help in MBA?
So when you say connect, do you mean connect with your colleagues and lecturers, or do you mean somebody outside the college?
Basically, when you in your MBA journey, I think people start connecting with their colleagues and their classmates and everything, and beyond. Well,
right.
So on LinkedIn as well. That is the second part of a question. But the first primarily you have to be more inclusive, like more
Yeah.
connection with
Understood.
your.
Understood. I got your question. So, so this is going to be a fun answer because the point I say that is, see, when you guys, not you guys, when anybody, when any generation goes, from school to college. When I say college, I mean your engineering or your graduation or your medical. So that's the age of, let's say, 18 to 21, 18 to 22, 18 to 23, depending on the course you take. Versus when you do your MBA, you are like 24 at least minimum or 23 minimum. And if there's an additional work experience, then you're probably 27, 28. So there's a difference in a personality that you are. Like a Mrinalini at 18 is going to be very different from a Mrinalini at 22, who's going to be very different from a Mrinalini at 26, right? So that is the main criteria into how you bond with your people. Okay. So engineering friends are for life. And when I say engineering, I mean medical, I mean, whichever your graduation stream is, engineering, medical, BSc, BCom, BBM, friends, like school friends are for life because that's the age at which you bond with them. When you get into MBA or masters, the technical masters, MTech or MCA or whatever, you're more professional. So it's not that you don't bond. There are a few friends there also for life, but there's a huge lens which is different, which is a professional lens. Okay, so that was my experience also. So I went into MBA thinking, जैसे मेरे को friends मिला engineering में, वैसे ही friends मेरे को MBA में भी मिलेगा type. But I was in for a little bit of a surprise over there, in a good way and in a bad way. That's one. Uh, Especially in our institute, I don't know if it is again a factor of our institute or probably across institutes. And I'm thinking it might be true even in international MBA institutes, because in international you have students coming from different countries. So, and also because as children, we are not aware of these differences. As children, you're only aware of, okay, she's a first ranker, he's a topper, he's an athlete, he's a guitarist. This is the discrimination. I mean, not really discrimination, differentiation that you have in your head. I think when you grow older, as you become more aware of society, suddenly you're like, oh, he's an Indian, he's a French, that kind of understanding comes. And well, if it's a purely Indian crowd, then for the first time I got to know. Halaki, in my engineering, we had North Indians, we had South Indians, we had NRIs, we had everybody, but everyone was just equal. But in your when you come to MBA, you're more aware that this is the Bengali group, okay, this is the Malayali group, okay, this is the Bihari group, you of course you can be a personality, you will be a personality that will float through all the groups, of course, depending on what kind of personality. I was floating all over, so I had the best of the worlds, but you become aware of it. So that is when it comes to your colleagues. Okay. Second comes to your lecturers, as in your professors, some of whom would be industry experts themselves, some of whom would be only faculty all their life, some of whom would be visiting faculty. So it'd be a mix. Okay, and some of course would be industry people, like how you're interacting with me right now. So so you have different levels of interaction and different types of people that you're interacting with. So even though like your generation has the internet and you guys can connect more easily to us, vis-a-vis when we were in, like I was in MBA in 2004. I mean, that makes me like a relic, but yeah, so in 2004, but we still managed to get industry leaders to come and speak to us. We had visiting faculty, we had our own faculty and things like that. So I think that's one of the best parts, that you have to like, even if you don't like a person's face, you just have to grab from his knowledge. It's as simple as that, because that is the best knowledge that you will get, and especially if they're people from the industry, like people who work 20 years in the industry and now are teaching, they are the best combination of professors to have. So that is the second part of
Yes.
sorry, I didn't
Networking.
get,
Yeah.
I can't hear you.
Hello. Networking clearly helps you in MBA.
Yeah, but networking, not for the purpose of networking. Networking is a very abused word in these days. So just connect to people whoever they are, I think, and that then anyway falls in the boutique of networking, right? I mean, I think I have kind of made myself clear in that particular point, right?
And
And the third thing is the activities that happen in the MBA institutes, which you would have seen similar stuff in your engineering and medical colleges also, but I think it's a lot more driven, a lot more competitive, and a lot more sometimes a lot more academic. Like you would not always have a dance competition. You'll probably now have project submission. You will probably have debates. You will have some business case presentation. So there, I mean, all of them are kind of preparing you for the corporate world. So, that is very nice. And of course, working with teams, you get your first glimpse of what is going to happen in the rest of your work life. Whether you're an entrepreneur or you join a company, you'll get a clear glimpse of it. I'm sure you guys will almost, relate to it when you guys get into your MBA, let's say 1 year, 2 years from now, where, every project is a team project, because the philosophy is that we as lecturers or we as professors are preparing you for the corporate world. So everything is a team project, and there'll invariably one person who's very hardworking, one person who will come on the day of the presentation, just run through the thing and present it like he knows everything, and then there'll be one silent person who's actually done all the work, but the lecturer doesn't know that. So you'll see all these team dynamics. You learn all this in MBA. So
I would like to learn all of these dynamics right now also, now that we do presentations and
you do okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All of these projects right now also. So we are going through the phase where the whole ones we call the freeloaders, the ones who don't work but then show up at the end of the day.
Yes.
I would like to ask next question, which is like there are a lot of students very confused right now because of third year and fourth year in engineering. They're very confused about masters or MBA. So can we talk about the aspects that makes it different? Like what different aspects in a person's character or personality should be that will be better for MBA? That person will be a better in an MBA grad than a master's.
Right. This is as chalk and cheese, if I can say, because first of all, masters and MBA is not comparable. It's like saying, should a person take commerce or should a person take science? Because it's completely different. Okay. And I'm sure you've seen scenarios, you yourself might be a scenario like that, where, there's a person, your friend, who's probably scored, 90% or 95% in the 12th science stream, and then she or he has opted to take commerce or has opted to take arts, right? So there really is no there's no one defining factor how or why a person should become an MBA or should become a what is that called? Master, should take master. So the driving force should only be 2-3 things, which I'm just thinking top of mind right now, which should be first, what is the person's interest? Like for instance, all my life I could have scored very well in science and maths, but from 12th onwards, I don't want to do science and maths anymore. I'm fed up. I would like to understand the business sense of it, in the business part of the how things work in the world, and I'd probably be interested in the economic policies across the world. So then it's so what a person's interest is, and that can change from Mrinalini at 3rd standard, and it can change from Mrinalini at 10th and 12th, and then so on and so forth, right? So what interests you is, I think, the most important thing. That's one. Of course, something might interest you at 12th standard, like you might think, let me go to commerce, or let me go and do my masters in technology, MTech, and then after you finish 2 years, then you might realize, oh my god, I should have just done my MBA. So you're allowed those mistakes. First of all, I think that is in the start of your career, and this is not even start of your career, this is like before the start of your career, you're allowed mistakes. So you're allowed, it's not even, I should not even be using the word mistake. I think you're allowed experiments. That's the right word. Okay? You're allowed experiments. And it's not going to harm you. Like I rightly said sometime back that, I thought, I was taking a 1-year break to study for MBA. Oh my God, all my friends have gone ahead. But then in the larger context of life, that 1 year really didn't matter. Okay. So I actually got 1 year more of student life rather than work corporately. So that's the way to look at it, right? So that's one part of it. The second part is, you can always change. For instance, when I say change, you do engineering. Let's say you've done your software engineering and then you do your master's, MTech or whatever that you want to do, MSc or things like that, and you get into a job. And then let's assume you have been put in the software part of it, where it's coding and of course a little more than coding. Maybe 10 years down the line, and you're doing a very fine job of it. You're doing a very fine. You've joined, let's say, Philips, and you're doing a very fine job of the coding. You're doing justice to your engineering degree. You're doing justice to your master's degree. But after 10 years now, you're a little bored. Like you want to do something different. You're done with being system architect and software system architect. So there's nothing stopping you from changing path. All you need to do is have a conversation with your boss, with your super boss, with the HR. Number one, that's one way of going about it. The other way of going about it is you've done your master's now. You work for 10 years. there's nothing stopping you from doing an executive MBA.
Okay.
And more often than not, a lot of companies, sponsor, the MBA, executive MBA. Especially if you're a good employee or a valued employee, then there is quota in the employee fund, where certain people who want to do executive MBA can apply for the finance from the company. So companies are, when also, I think, as a parallel advice, since you people would be applying for campus interview and things like that.
Yeah.
One more thing, as in either now, right after engineering, some of you might get into jobs, or maybe after MBA or masters, you might get into jobs. One of the important things that you guys need to see when you're negotiating your salary is also these perks. So it's not about just getting the highest number of, this many lakhs into my account, because that is a money component. But besides the money component, if there are these kind of perks, can I do my higher education? Can I do something else? Okay, will you facilitate my medical insurance? So, when you negotiate, these things also should kind of, it's a different topic, but since it came up, I'm just letting you know this also.
Yeah. So now that we were talking about taking a different turn, like all of us learned right now that we could apply for executive MBA after a certain, like a 10 to 12 year span after, for example, 10 to 12 year span in our jobs, we can apply for MBA. That is something all of us learned today. But beyond, like in your interviews past, and like I saw an interview of like global women leader interview where you mentioned like there was one aspect in the interview where you mentioned about that your actions and your process, like the process that you're aiming towards, like with a master's program or an MBA, like sorry, or a master MBA or master's, the action should match to the process. So in the initial stage right now that all of us are right now, so if the student is very very confused, how can the student can just discriminate and just choose one? Like, is there any, or just choose? Yeah.
Right, I hear you. I understood your question. So there's a saying, there's a Chinese saying. I'm sure it's there in the Bhagavad Gita, and I'm sure all intelligent people across the world, people like Vivekananda and everybody must have said this at least once. Sadhguru in the in the recent times, that when you don't know what to do, do nothing.
Okay. Do nothing. Okay.
Do nothing. So that does not translate into, okay, Dr. Anvitha told do nothing, so I'm not going to do anything in my life. No, that doesn't translate into that. What that translates into is, when you are in the midst of a lot of chaos, you don't know whether to go abroad, stay in India. You don't know whether to do masters or MBA. You don't know whether you want to join a job immediately after engineering, or you don't know whether you want to join your dad's business. You don't want to join your dad's business. Just don't know what to do. Take a break. Take a 1 month break. Take a 2 month break. Figure out what you want. Only then make a decision. Never make a decision in haste. Never make a decision under pressure. Pressure of peers, that my friends are going ahead and I'm left behind. I'm the only lukha sitting at home doing nothing. That kind of thing. Or pressure of parents. Ki kar kya rahe ho? Chalo, ladki ho to shadi kar lo. This kind of. Never take a instinctive decision. And an instinctive decision comes sometimes for women, for girls, maybe not in your generation, but in our generation, definitely it did come around where, acha ho gaya na engineering, ab ho gaya na kaam, chalo shadi kar lete. So then a lot of us said, okay, the only way to postpone a shadi is to do an MBA.
Yeah.
So that gives us this 2 years grant period. So let's not do things like that. Let's not do instinctive decisions. It's easier to tell our parents to calm down. It's easier to tell myself calm down, see what I want to do, and then go ahead and do it. Of course, after that also, after 5 years, you figure out MBA is boring. You are allowed that mistake. You're allowed that experiment, and you're allowed to change. Yeah, absolutely. You're allowed to change. Nobody said you have to do only this all your life. Like I always say, and I already said it in this conversation also, that you are all born in a beautiful time, and like anything is okay. So I think that is. I'm not saying that the generation that we were born into was not lucky, but there's so much more that you can do now. So
we have more doors open.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I was a very good dancer in school, so but I never thought that I could consider making dance as my profession. And today, when I see Shakti Mohan and Terence Lewis and all, I'm like, oh my God, I can dance better than that. And look at me, I'm just doing an MBA corporate job, or I'm just a doctor. So that's what I'm saying. That's the difference between the opportunities that all of you have, which you must kind of take, and do not limit yourselves only to MBA, masters, and
Yeah.
If you want to do, just please go ahead and do it.
We can expand our horizons. Yeah. So now
Absolutely.
we were talking about a lot of women, and we'll talk about women in corporate business right now.
Okay.
So
Okay.
there's just one more point that I came across in an interview saying that you also had your own Me Too moment where you had to stand for yourself.
Yeah.
So yeah. So basically, my question regarding that was, have you ever in your entire career faced a point where you had to stand for yourself, but at the same time, standing for yourself would cost you your career, like cost you a bigger
Yeah.
deal than what is right and wrong, bala bracket,
Correct.
like
Correct.
yeah. So would you take that chance in your like career, or what do
Yeah.
you suggest
Yeah.
for?
Yeah. So this it's a question very close to my heart. Okay. So yeah. So first of all, my career is not over. Like I'm also in the journey. I'm not like
I mean,
retirement नहीं हुआ है ना?
you can
तो
say that,
नहीं. I'm just pulling your leg. It's okay. So I'm also having like I'm also walking the path like just like all of you are beginning the path. I'm also somewhere in the middle. That's one. Second, yes, one will always have opportunities where one has to stand up for themselves. Uh, and that could be any scenario. That could be a scenario like a Me Too scenario, or it could be a scenario where you've done your research and there is some mega business project that's happening in your team, and you've probably hit the jackpot as to how to go about it. And probably the way you're thinking, or the methodology that you have kind of arrived at is the perfect method. It's the most logical methodology, and you're definitely ridden with outputs, good outputs. But maybe the person across you, whoever it is, maybe your boss, your colleague, whoever, has his own prejudices against you. For whatever reasons, it could be something else. You probably remind him of his wife, and he's frustrated with his wife. It could just be that, or he just feels, oh my God, if I allow this person to, go ahead with this, then he or she will outshine me. So people come with their own prejudices and own conditioning. So you can't do anything much about that. But that said, should you just shut up and say, okay, abhi boss ne na bola to chodo, let me let go of this very good idea? No, there are so many ways you can go about it. Nobody's asking you to become a rebel. Uh, and if that's an inborn quality trait in you, then harness that rebellious attitude. As don't just be a rebel for the heck of being a rebel. मैं rebel हूँ तो मैं लेट आऊंगा ऑफिस में, मैं कुछ भी करूंगा, कभी भी जाऊंगा. That is not cool at all. Be a rebel with the cause. Number one. Number two, pick your battles. You don't have to, for everything you don't have to fight. You don't have to always. Some chota things is always okay. Fine, forget it. But if something is worth fighting for in terms of अगर हमने this method किया या this project we did, then it's definitely going to get us 5x profits rather than the method that you're suggesting, which is only 2x. Then you have to push for it. And when you push for it, you obviously, if your boss is unreasonable or boss has, no, the boss is not always wrong. Boss is right also. But his hands might be tied for some reason, right? Maybe he doesn't have the budget to support your idea. Maybe his super boss is breathing down him, whatever. So then there are different methodologies that, you will learn on the way, which is basically if the immediate superior is not kind of getting around to your idea, then maybe you go to the super boss, or you go to the aju-baju teams, get them to kind of agree to. Then all of you, like, sometimes many a times there's power in strength. Like, one person saying it versus 10 people saying it. So maybe your boss is not listening to your idea, but if you go around telling that idea to 10 people, convincing them, then all 10 of you go and convince, so there are different tactics, and you will learn this along the way. Whether you're a woman, whether you're a man, there's no more gender. Honestly, there's no more gender bias. Again, today's world has so many, it's more than just male and female right now. There are so many categories, and it's all inclusive. But, as long as you're not stepping on people's toes, as long as you're not being unnecessary rebel, like unnecessarily you're trying to be like one Krantikari for no reason. You more often than not, I'm not saying it's going to be a smooth journey. There will be times when you have to choose between right and wrong, but choose, to pick your battles. Do not, just be on a battle mode all the time.
A lot of time when women, have you come across a part? Hello, am I audible?
Yeah, I missed some few words in between.
Okay,
Yeah.
maybe. So
Yes.
a lot of times women are like put in the battle of hysterical, or that time of the month time, like
Yeah,
when they
yeah.
stand for
Yes.
their own opinion. So is it worth fighting a battle like these? You said choose your battle. So
This question is I think all women across workforce, across non-workforce. When I say non-workforce, I mean our mothers and sisters who are not, in the corporate sector or not working, are countrywide and global women across the world. kids also, for a fact, I think, teenage girls, I think this is the question that we all roll our eyes towards. It's
Yeah.
unfortunate. It's unfortunate, that so many years later, we're still having to fight for our place. It's very sad. And equality will never come at the cost of women becoming higher than men.
No,
That's
never.
not. Equality will never come at the cost of, okay, let's empower our women, let's give them more training, let's give them more. They should know how to present, they should know how to talk numbers. No, I think women are absolutely intelligent. Every single woman I have worked with in the last 17 years has been a rock star, and I don't say this with a bias because she has women attributes, physical attributes, but genuinely she's been a rock star. And I've not seen, probably with an exception of one person, and that had nothing to do with her being a woman. Baki, everyone knew how to talk, knew how to present, didn't need extra thing. I think the whole change will come from the mindset, and that mindset has to be driven from top down. Number one. Number two, our male colleagues who happen to be our friends, brothers, sons, whatever, they also have to change the personality, because it can't be like, okay, finally there are policies that are coming in place where we're saying, okay, fine, as an institute, as a company, as an organization, I now want to have 50% women population. And the moment that policy is executed, we cannot have the existing male colleague, अरे यार मेरे को तो job नहीं मिलने वाला है, वो तो women quota है. The moment we have our colleague or our friend talking like this, that's the time we don't fight with them, but make them understand, listen, it's been so many centuries. We're doing the same job, but you're getting paid 10 lakhs more than me. Why? Just because there is a probability that I'll get married and probability that I might leave the workforce. So because of that, I'm getting paid 10 lakhs. I mean, you might just leave the organization tomorrow and go. And I might be the loyal one staying in the organization despite my children, husband, in-laws, and everything else, right? So, that kind of conversation has started already, and that's a good thing, but it needs to start to move.
We have a really long when it comes to.
No, I think if you'd asked me this question, Mrinalini, about 10 years back, if you and I had met 10 years back, I'd say yes, we have a long way to go. But I think today, I'm not saying we have won the battle. It's nowhere won. And it's not even a battle because it's not male versus female. It's a battle against patriarchal thinking and correct thinking. I can't even say modern thinking. It's just wrong thinking and right thinking. So the battle is really there. So we have come a long way, and that kind of thinking has come over so many centuries. So many things have built into it, not just in India but across the world, right? The whole human race was used to the woman being at home and raising the kids or the cubs, even in the animal kingdom, and the men go out and hunt. So it started from there to, okay, somewhere in between in the 16th century when the Industrial Revolution happened, 16th, 17th century, whenever the revolution happened and the women started entering the workforce, the men started getting a little, ye kya ho raha hai types, and then, so it's taken so many centuries to arrive at that patriarchal model. So now if you want to break that model, we can't say it's going to take another 10 centuries to break it, but yeah, things are happening, and things are happening at many levels. It's happening at the policies level, it's happening at a attribute level, it's happening at a conversational level, it's happening when we as mothers, how we treat our sons and daughters. Like, we make our daughters pick up the plate and wash the vessels, when guests are there, but we don't make our sons do that. There you have embedded that seed of entitlement right there, in a 3-year-old boy versus your 5-year-old daughter. So, that needs to change. So we, in our generation of friends, all of us ensure that our sons and daughters, all of them, do all the homework and the outside work also. So that there is no distinction between this is a female work and that is a male work. So now that child grows up into thinking, no, men and women are equal, absolutely. So it's at all levels. It's at homes, it's at offices, it's at government policies, it's at board, and it's a good state. So in another 5 years, when you guys are coming into the workforce, it's just going to be easier.
Yeah, I would say at least we have a better picture than we all. I would say we have a better picture.
Yeah, definitely. I won't say it was all bad for us because we also had our doors that we could kind of go into and kind of win this situation, win that situation. But it's just very nice today. As a woman professional, it's all very nice today. Sorry.
I'm saying that we'll have new battles maybe. So that never.
Yeah, absolutely. There might be battle of logic versus illogic.
Illogic, yeah.
Which is like another century-old battle. pay scale. So, things can change into understanding, okay, let's get 50% women force into the workforce, but pay scale is still different.
Yeah, basically,
That might be absolutely. And then if we have the LGBTQ community coming in, that's another, whole set of things, new battles that's kind of coming in. So, a lot of things. So every generation has its choice of change.
at the same time, when we are talking so much about corporate life, I would
Yeah.
like to just bring light to the fact that you are for 15 years you have been practicing black belt in combat arts.
Right.
So talk more about that, because that is something very rare. I feel like a lot of corporate people, or even I, now that I'm in engineering college, a
Now
lot of
that you're a boring old girl.
going on. It's just that
Yeah.
it's just that now that we are a little more corporate, we have more time. We want to give more time to our career and then
Right,
family.
right.
So how do you manage that aspect of your life?
So honestly, I just landed into it totally incidentally. My friend wanted to learn, so I accompanied her, and then both of us ended up joining. And she lasted a month, and I've lasted 15 years and continued. It's a big joke. Okay, the joke is that I'm probably the only black belt of the academy who did not look for martial arts and just entered and became an incidental black belt. That said, one doesn't be an incidental black belt for 15 years. That is not also the right way to look at it, because it has to be something more than just a random walk-in into the academy that made you last for 15 plus years, right? So I think for me, and I can't speak for others, but I can definitely speak for myself. There was a time in the beginning of my career when I'd become a complete workaholic. Like when I say workaholic, I used to be in office till 9, 10, then come back home. I've opened my laptop, I'm working, and I'm eating food at like 10:45 in the night, which is ridiculous. Okay, which I didn't realize, and I did that for 2, 3 years, and then my health started getting really bad. And unlike our parents' generation, where extra time got extra money,
Yeah.
in the corporates you don't have that concept. That is your problem. You worked all night, you worked on Sundays. We are not paying you extra. So I think slowly, because of my teachers, because of seniors, kind of telling you, what are you doing? There's more to life than work. Your identity is not an assistant manager. Your identity is not Mrinalini, Vodafone, postpaid head. That's not your identity. Your identity is a lot more. Your identity has to be more than just working. And I think that's something, again, your generation understands it much better than our generation. I would again compliment your generation on that. But nevertheless, it's very easy to get sucked into, because I see in your generation, my team members also becoming workaholics, and I have to keep telling them, listen. And I don't want to be that mummy, kind of telling them, listen, maine ye galti kiya, tum mat karo. I don't want to be that, but I still, when I see them, oh my God, you're going in the same wrong path. So I
Done.
think understanding, you don't need willpower to not be a workaholic, or you don't need willpower to be a combat artist, or whatever it is, a dancer or something. I think you just need clarity of thought. When there's clarity, you don't require willpower. It's that simple as. And this is not my dialogue, this is my teacher's dialogue, which I am shamelessly copying and sharing it with you, because I think it's life's biggest truth. You need willpower when you don't have clarity. Like, okay, I'm going to lose 20 kgs. Okay, I'm not going to eat, I'm not going to. But when I realize that, having extra 20 kgs on me is very dangerous for my knees, then it's just clarity. Then I don't need willpower, and I'm not going to eat too much. It's as simple as that. So similarly, when one wants to be, in my case, I wanted to be a combat artist. I wanted to be something else. So it was just so clear. I'm not going to work on Saturday, Sunday, because Saturday, Sunday is dedicated to myself. So even if the world is falling, even if my boss is going to behave like, oh my God, I want that report tomorrow morning, and tomorrow morning is Sunday morning, just understanding that Sunday morning, अगर एक छोटी सी असिस्टेंट मैनेजर ने इतना बड़ा कंपनी में एक छोटा सा रिपोर्ट नहीं दिया, कंपनी डूबेगा नहीं. Understanding this is, I think, and then the moment you understand this is when you say, chal, let's go for a trip to Lonavala. Chal, let's do this. Chal, let's go dancing. Chal, let's go learn a new skill, So I think when you have that clarity, then, like I was telling somebody else, you don't have to make time for things. You just, all of us have 24 hours. You, me, Modi ji, Einstein, everybody had 24 hours, right? So, but it's how we are using it. So it's as simple as that. So where you have clarity, you realize that you don't want to be just a Hindustan Unilever ka employee. You want to be more than that. That's
More
when
than
you,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, so this is something years of experience brought light to you, that you have to be more than just your
Oh no,
man.
this hit me when I was, I think, so I started work after MBA, which was, I was 26. And then I think by the time I was 28, it hit me, ki, what am I doing? So it took me only 2 years, but I will tell you, it's 2 years. It took me 2 years to realize I'm dumb. There are a lot of other people who are more intelligent who realize it in 6 months, So
At the same time, I would really like to stress more a little where the aspect that how did you like calm yourself, be more focused, and what's the next thing in your life, like that. So the whole thing about now that it's a very hectic job with corporate
right.
world, right? It's always beyond 9 to 5, I would say. But at the same time, how do you all follow some regimes or whatever it is to keep yourself calm and focused in your work and have a work and life balance,
Right. So, see, it's like this. I would like to say work and life balance is possible, but it's not always going to be possible. There are going to be ups and downs. I think that's the way I look at it. Okay, there would be times where you will have no work on you, or you'll have very little work, just business as usual. And suddenly, then there'll be a big brand launch, and you'll have lots of work to do, or a big project launch in the IT sector. As in, if you go in the technical side, then there'll be some mega project that you would have to launch and things like that. So that is, that up and down is always going to be there. The second thing is the point that we just spoke, that understanding that if, the world is not going to come crashing down, the company is not going, and I'm like, if I take a leave, if I take 5 days chutti, the world is not going to crash down. The whole company doesn't depend on me. There are other people in the team. I think that's the second thing. The third thing is, you just mentioned, I don't think any job is 9 to 5. No, the job can be made 9 to 5 by you. Because if you go to the HR and say, but I am working 9 to 9, they are just going to turn around and tell you, listen, we didn't ask you to work more than 9 to 5. Look at the black and white document. It requires you to work only from 9 to 5. They are going to tell you this. Then you'll be like, oh my God, then why did I work extra? So all these things happen with you. So now that you have industry leaders telling you, don't do it. Actually, we didn't have anybody telling us. We figured it out the hard way. But you people have, the access to people like us. So, just take that knowledge. Number 3. Number 4, I think it always helps for me personally. I don't know how it works for the rest of the world. You wake up in the morning, I think you make a list of jobs to do. So, and obviously put them in priority order. Like, our human nature is to finish off the easy jobs first, but they may not be the important jobs, right? So you make a list of jobs for that day or that week or whatever, and then divide them into high priority, mid priority, and low priority, and then go about the rest of the day ticking them off. As in completing them. So at the end of the day, when you have a sheet or a book where there's green ticks, then, there is that sense of accomplishment, and then there is no spillover. Beyond 5 o'clock or beyond 6 o'clock happens because आपने वो discipline नहीं किया, आपने अपने दिमाग में वो you didn't make that list, and then you went out for a chai break, you went out for a lunch break, you sauntered along. I mean, not that you should not take a chai break, you should take a chai break, but it's with the awareness that ये काम आज करना है. So I think when you put a routine in place, you put this thing, then and when you're finished with your list, at least 3/4 of your list, invariably you will be calm the next day. It's as simple as that. And I think procrastination is the worst thing that you can do. I've been there myself, but I've long gotten rid of it. That keeping things for the last minute gives you a adrenaline rush, but you can't survive on that adrenaline rush for the rest of your life. That's not the way you should conduct your life. At 20, it's okay. At 40, it'll give you blood pressure.
Like now we're talking about the generation gap. I think personally, our generation is a generation where everyone want to just run out of the world. I mean, the country. Sorry, run out of the country, and everyone's very fascinated by UK, USA, and they build a life out. And then not that anything's wrong in it. I absolutely agree, and I'll be one of those people out next year. So it's like my question towards that is, what is your take on all of, like, a lot of graduates are moving out of the country. So what is about the country aspect also at the country level? And as students, do you think that's a very good point of view to look at?
First of all, I'd like to make a small correction there. Is not really a point of the millennial generation and the non-millennial generation. It's really not that. It's more of people who are, say, at one point even we were 20, So in my batch also there are loads of my batchmates who have gone out of India, settled abroad, be it in the Europe part, be it in the Australian part, or in the US part, or in the Middle East part, right? So it's really not a millennium thing. It's not your generation that is aspiring to go abroad and our generation all India mein baith gaye, nahi, aisa nahi, right? And it's not even of just my generation, even my father's generation, my grandfather's best friend, went to London to study medicine, which is like, I think, even before independence.
Even
So
before, yeah.
really, brain drain, if you can call it that, the most commonest term, it's really not a new thing. And it's not only the millenniums have to be guilty of, or the generation after yours, you don't have to be guilty of it. That said, the world is becoming, it's shrinking smaller and smaller. So wherever in the first part of your career, wherever it is that you want to make your career, wherever it is that you want to make money, and you think somewhere outside will give you more money than in India, you can go there. There's not stopping you. That said, one must also understand the point that I said right in the beginning, which is India has already emerged as a superpower. Okay, so people are actually coming back because they realize that India is actually the growth space, and not just for startups, but also in terms of money. All other countries are investing in India. So you guys might want to really rethink about, do you want to go abroad, settle there, and be the NRI that probably contributes or does not contribute to the economy, or do you want to stay in India? There's no judgment there. There's honestly no judgment there. But there should not be a closed mind, which says, no, only abroad is good, India is useless. That kind of thought process should not drive your decision. Like an uninformed or a half-informed data should not drive your decision.
Yeah.
Especially in today's world where India is already the superpower and we are minting money and our economy is right there up, with the exception of the pandemic. But that pandemic hit everybody, so it really, we're all equal then again. Okay, and now though we are like blazing guns at the US also. So what are we talking about, right? So yeah.
So beyond that, you are a doctorate and then a third degree combat, all of it that we talked about. But it's a PhD and a MBA and a software engineer. So all of these degrees, do you think all of these degrees really matter, or it's a years of experience that you have that helped you in your career? So what exactly mattered more for you?
Right. So in my career, so see, we were the batch when recession. When I say we, as in we were the batch, when I say, I mean I'm referring to the engineering batch. Is we were that batch where recession had hit, and you guys might have been, I don't know, just I think teenagers or probably younger than teenagers at that point of time. For us, recession hit. So that was the year when there was no campus interview at all. Like for a bunch of 3,000 engineers across various branches, there was one company that came and which took one candidate out of 3,000. So for us, the obvious next choice of occupation was for all of us to come to Bangalore, Pune, Mumbai and join call centers. Now that was not a interesting perspective for me, because I was like, dude, I didn't do engineering to be to go and join call center. Not that there's anything demeaning about a call center, but it's just something I didn't want to do. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I was very clear I didn't want to do this. That's one. Second, I have always wanted, as I think as a child, as an 18-year-old, I always wanted to be a doctor, like a medical doctor. I was very sure that I wanted to be a doctor. But then how parents are, so that's probably the only decision. That the doctor, you have to study so many years, and then still, then after you study so many years, you'll just get a piddly amount. Whereas engineer, 4 years, you'll fly to London and you'll fly here and you'll fly there in US and all that time. I got convinced into doing an engineering thing. Of course, I hated it in the first year, but second year onwards, once we got into our computer science branch, I obviously started liking it. But that thing was always there, that I want to heal people. I want to heal people. So much later in life, after I finished my engineering and MBA, and then I got an opportunity to study medicine, I just grabbed it with both my hands. Is that part of my career? No, that's not part of my career. Is that part of my learning? Yes. Do I see patients? Yes, I do refer patients. I do have a very wonderful way of looking at medicine and the entire thing and understanding the human body, like the way I always wanted to. Great. So that's that part of it. As far as the remaining two, they are exactly the same what all of you are doing, which is engineering and MBA. And of course, engineers have an edge over the regular graduates, because engineers, no matter even if you're the worst student in the engineering institute, you got the lowest marks, still the syllabus forces you to think logically, and that ability to think logically, rationally, ask why this is like this, or how did this happen, just that thought process that very subtly gets introduced into our head is a very critical factor that differentiates you from a graduate with an MBA degree. So companies actually value engineers who do MBA over, and then of course it's also, I mean, you really can't kind of generalize, because I could be an engineer and an MBA and be like really illogical, or vice versa. So it's also individual personality also. There are a lot of factors that make, there are a lot of factors that determine your success or your failure and then success. There are a lot of factors that kind of go into it. It's not just your degrees, I would say. Are you getting late? Is that the reason you're looking at the clock?
Disturbed by someone out there.
Oh,
Okay, so
okay.
one more question about this was that there are a lot of awards that we talked about in my introduction. At the same time, there'll be a lot of times in your career, like in the 17 years of experience, where you do seem a very positive person, but at the
Huh.
same time, you deal with all the negative aspects and all of those downfalls. As a person, when we put ourselves out there, we always show the positive ones, the achievements, and all of it. But at the same time, I think it's very important to talk about all the negative aspects of it. And how did you deal with it personally? Like you
Yes,
had a family.
yeah.
Uh,
Sorry, you were saying, sorry. What was that?
was your family very supportive and that helped you, or others you worked it on a personal level? So how did you go through the whole process of your
Right.
obstacles and falls?
Right,
Yeah.
right. So I would say, this is entirely a question I think directed at my story, and I'm not sure how many of you people will be interested in knowing that, but I'll definitely share a few bits. So for me, I think success has always been whenever I've overcome an obstacle. That's been success. So only when I've overcome a failure is when I would count it as a success, and not something that just dropped into, like doing an MBA. I wouldn't count that as a success. That's just regular stream. But supposing there was a project, and this is not a supposition but an actual scenario, where there's a project and I want to do that project, but that project is actually in my portfolio, is being taken and given to somebody else for whatever reason. Then when I win it back, is success, right? That's one. Or there was a scenario when the entire industry was going through a downfall, as in the whole industry. There was we're talking about the agricultural industry and the tractor industry, and there were no rainfalls that year. There was drought across India. So basically, what are we selling when farmers are killing themselves? In that year, you go ahead and do something really innovative that you actually end up getting the highest sales in the last 5 years, not just for your company but across industry. So when you do things like this, when you overcome obstacles, is when you're successful. Again, family, yes, it helps to have a very supportive family. That goes without saying. But again, family, like all families, are the moment you want to do something unconventional, they are going to be like questioning, because they feel they're answerable to you, they feel they're answerable to your failures, they feel they're answerable to the society. So when I say that I don't, after engineering, I don't want to get married, but I want to do MBA, they're like, excuse me, like what? Like why not? Why not get married? Or after MBA, now I want to work. Hello, I thought you said MBA. Now why are you not getting married? There are always questions. But I think, and I was telling this to a friend yesterday in another context, that as long as you are clear, and if when you are clear, the communication goes across so strongly without offending the other person, because you're talking about your life, and that in no way brings them down as a mother or a sister or a father, but is just they educated you to have clarity of thought. So when you have clarity of thought, they should not be apologetic about it, or they should not reprimand you for it, because that's what they educated you for, right? To have clarity of thought. So when you have clarity of thought, they should be proud about you, which in my case, more often than not, they were, but they were obstacles. So I think, having a supportive family, but if you don't have a supportive family, communicating with your family to make them support you is what makes the difference. Okay. And same is the case in your professional world also. It's not going to be easy. It's never going to be easy. As you grow older, things are just going to get tougher and tougher. That is life for you. I mean, and that's not life for you and for me and people in India. It's life across centuries for everybody. Gautam Buddha also said the same thing, right? Show me one family where there has not been a death, and I'll get your son back. He told a mother who was, who wanted her son to be brought back from the dead. So it's the same everywhere. So it's really not like you phrased your question, is really not about positive and negative aspects of the corporate world, where it is about what your response is to that particular scenario. You can, like when I had my Me Too moment, I could have said, oh my god, I'm so depressed, and oh, he's like spoiling my career right at the start of my thing. That's one way I could have looked at it. Or I could have said, no, what he's doing is wrong, I'm not okay with it, I'm going to speak up about it, and can we get moving beyond this? Can we get our justice, and can we get moving beyond this? So it's really not positive and negative aspects. What really makes it positive and negative is how you respond to it. So so I think that is the way. So it's not that a person is, you're always happy. No, you're happy because you have resolved your conflicts. The moment you do not resolve your conflicts and push it under the table, yeah, छोड़ो यार, इसके बारे में बात नहीं करेंगे. And this is true. This is true even if, like, supposing Mrinalini, you and I are friends. Okay, tomorrow, assume that you and I are best friends. and you don't like something that I have done. So instead of you telling me, you say, "Chal chodo," and you just push it under the carpet. You and I are going to build resentment. Our friendship is going to suffer. So the moment you communicate and the moment we resolve it is when you are anyway going to be a happy person.
Okay. So
Yeah.
like it's about clarity and it's about communication at the end of the day.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
yeah, like there's one more very personal question from me to you right now.
Please.
I'm just
Yes,
going
ma'am. You want to be my friend? Yes, done. Done.
to. So this is that now that we saw all of your career and all of these experience, years of experience to it. So would you go back and change anything? Like would you fix anything as a teenager you did, or anything, or do you embrace your mistakes? Like how do you deal with
No,
that?
I don't think I'd change anything. I think the only thing that I would like to change, and that is something beyond my control, but as an 18-year-old, when I joined engineering and we went for hikes and treks and all, there was a time when I tore my ligament. And then, typically we went to the doctor and the orthopedic was he was the HOD of the department and he was an over enthusiastic orthopedician, world famous orthopedician. So he's like, "Arey beta, aa jao, chalo, surgery karte." So ye kar karke na 4 surgery kar diya knees pe. So I think that's the only thing I would like to change because it was a very now as I've studied medicine and I look back in hindsight, I realized those surgeries were so not required because it was just a tiny tear in the ligament. Uske liye pura knee ka hi kharab kar diya. So I think that is the only change because I would have loved to have stronger knees. But that's it. I think I've worked around it today because of 15 years of kicking and punching. My knees are stronger than anybody else's. So I think that's probably the only thing, nothing else. I think
Yeah,
the person that you like right now in front of you is because of everything that's happened in so many years. In 41 years of my life, I'm 41. So, so what you like of me is because of everything that I've learned across the way.
I
On the way.
absolutely love the way of perception that you have towards life and your job and your family and all of it. It's just beautiful, I would say. And that is something I personally I just want to compliment, saying that like I really, really look up to you, and I just
No,
hope that
I'll be very honest here. I've always been honest, but here, credit to where credit is due. I've been very fortunate to have teachers at the right time, at the right, spot. And I think the only good thing that I did was grab onto these teachers. And those teachers could come in any form. They could be teachers of my academy or teachers in the industry, teachers from my institute, or my friend who suddenly wise in a certain aspect. So I think I've just been very fortunate to have very good teachers. And I think that's the only right thing that I did in my life. That when I spotted a teacher, I held on to that teacher and learned from him. I think him
yeah.
or her, whoever.
Pandemic or what is this, maybe, or the pandemic thing, I just want to ask that a lot of students go through anxiety when it comes to all of these lectures or seminars or even presenting themselves. They go to anxiety and all of it. So do you think how do any suggestions from your side that how do we deal with it? Or like with your personality, I would like to say, were you always this open, or for communication with you, was very easy for you, or was it difficult for you to communicate and you overcame it? Like what was in your aspect, or what was it?
Okay, so I don't really remember being anxious ever. I think that's not been part of my personality. But that said, it's not like I'm being always this happy thing. Yeah, I am. So I think generally my there's always a basal attitude to a person, right? So my base attitude is happy. That's one. Okay,
Yeah.
so that helps, I think. The other thing is, and now what I'm going to tell you is a contradiction because I communicate very openly, right? As you, whatever in this past half an hour that you've interacted with me, I think you have understood that, I'm a very open communicative person. But that said, when I'm in trouble, I do not communicate because it's not that I don't want to share my trouble, but it's just that, I'm going into that silent mode because I want to figure out stuff. Okay, what has gone wrong? It's like sitting like a scientist and trying to figure out what is wrong. When the problem has been resolved, then I will talk about it to everybody. So now that's my personality, and hence I don't think I ever suffered anxiety. And I think there was always that thinking, okay, ultimately, if I can't solve it, somebody else, I can always go to somebody. Why can I always go to somebody? Because I've built these equations over the years. So my friends, or I would say people who are close to me, and I don't necessarily mean only friends, but I mean these teachers, my relatives, people whom I call family, are people who have, I don't have people who are only 2 years in my life, 3 years in my life. I have friends who are my LKG friends, like people I've grown up with. So all my friendships are minimum 10 years, minimum 30 years, minimum 25 years. Because, you have invested in that friendship and they have also invested in that friendship. Hence, if tomorrow something happens, or yesterday if something happened, if I'm not able to resolve it, I know I have a whole network of people, now that I'm using the word network, to fall back upon, you know. So that's why I keep saying, do not do networking for the purpose of networking. Do networking because you want to know people, you want to connect with people, and you want to be there for people. If you are there for people, people will be there for you. Good
Absolutely.
begets good, as simple as that. And if you have your conflicts resolved, like I said, then there is no scope for anxiety, there is no scope for anything, regardless of whether a pandemic came tomorrow, earthquake happened, day after tomorrow World War III happened, it doesn't matter. If you have resolved and you have your set of, you know, your army behind you, which you have invested in, people will not generally become your friends. You know, you have to
Absolutely.
invest in them. And when I say friends, it's a generic word. I'm meaning your parents, your family, everybody, right? But it's important to keep good company. I think that is most, and weed out the, you know, people who drain you, who unnecessary, like, you know, you have a good intent towards a friend, so you're explaining something to him and it's taken 3 hours, and at the end of 3 hours he's saying, no, but you know what, what I think is still right. That's the moment you know this person doesn't deserve the time, and you kind of put him in the second or the third round. You don't break your friendship with that person, but you definitely put him in the, so because you know you don't want to waste your time with illogical people.
Not
It's as
impossible.
simple as that. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it is important to like even move out with people or like just put them behind in your circle. All of
Yeah,
these.
put them, you know, your life has to be, has to have a concentric circle of people. So
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
move them from the first rung to the second rung, or the second rung to the third rung. And if somebody is fantastic, you move them from the third rung to the first rung.
First round, yeah.
Yeah.
So today we have not just talked about MBA. I feel I especially
I
have
know, I
tried.
feel like one Mata Gyani, which just gave you a lot of gyan.
No, no, no. This is so helpful. Like we didn't just stick to MBA. I personally feel we went to the whole woman in corporate and work-life balance because I
Yeah.
really thought when a person with a lot of experience is right in front of me, I should touch every aspect of her life. And it is such beautiful, journey of yours. So I think we
Not
now.
really. I mean, I want to correct you there because I mean, the correct only one point over there, that, you know, experience does not necessarily mean the right thing. Like, you know, you could be 16 and speak the wisest of things, and you could be 40 or 50 and be dumb. You know, speak the most illogical things because you've not learned correctly from your experience. You've not learned correct. So it's important to not have a standard formula that जिसका 15 plus years experience है वो intelligent है. No, don't even assume that.
I'm
Interact
grateful
with the
that
person and then only understand whether, you know, I can learn something from this person. It's important.
all of us have grown up saying because all of our parents are.
Yeah. We just assume, our parents are right. No, not necessarily. My mom could be dumb. You know, it's as simple as that. So there's really no allowance for the fact, my mom, how can she be dumb? No. You just look at her as a person. The fact that she's related to you is on one side. But in this particular topic, if she's talking illogically, then it is illogic. It is, you know, independent of whether she's your mom, she's your best friend, or she's a person on the road. If the point being made is illogical, it's illogical. So I think,
I'm
yeah,
grateful that 40-year-old is making this right now because all of us were right ki, just because a person has experience is not necessarily.
yeah, absolutely.
I'm really grateful that through this session also this is also out there that
Yeah,
not just experiences
yes,
all
yes.
everything. So moving to the conclusion, I would really thank for you because you all agreed to come to all of this is a little small session for you. I know that. So
Not at all, not at all. Even if it was just you and me, I would love talking to you. So,
oh, that'll be grateful. I keep that in mind. Yeah. Moving
yes.
to the vote of thanks. I'm really thankful for y'all to join. And the entire team was very supportive to all of us, and we have been working for this for quite long. That to have you on the platform,
Okay.
and yeah. So thank you for joining, and
Thank you for inviting me. I've had a good time. And even before this event, of course, it was supposed to happen last week, I believe, and then something happened. But I think my team also has come back to me saying that your team, as in you are a multiple college team, have
same,
been most peaceful to interact with, and very, you know, like quick on the feet. So I'm also very happy. I've personally interacted with you and with Sapna, and of course Tanmay showing his face. So I have to mention Tanmay now. Okay, Tanmay also. But yes, but Sapna and Mrinalini, definitely, yes, it's been a joy. And Sapna is like, okay, just peaceful, very peaceful. So, but besides the operational and logistics part of it, I think, you know, the questions that you asked, and I think it's completely deviated from the list of questions that we, you know, initially made. And I'm glad because those were, I must say, pretty boring questions. But, you know, what we spoke were really, I hope you guys gained as much as I enjoyed. I definitely enjoyed answering the questions. And I hope you people have gained something. You have some clarity about, whether to do MBA, not do MBA, whether to do it in India, whether not to do it in India, whether to do it immediately, whether to do it after 10 years, or get the company to sponsor your MBA, whatever it
Yeah,
is.
life now, like a little more life perspective and
Yeah,
work-life
yeah,
balance.
yeah.
So I think MBA, what is the criteria of MBA? Questions like these is something person can just Google, and what are the
Yeah.
questions?
Yes.
Even Google are very good at these aspects, but I think there's more to just MBA than just what is the eligibility criteria and what are the
Right.
exams, everything.
Right. Right.
Nitty-gritty people can find on Google, but
Yeah.
something like experience and corporate life things that
Yes,
uh,
yes. And we always wished, we always say when I say our batch, I just don't mean the exact batch, but I mean 5 years upper niche. When we all meet, for coffee, lunch, we always say, we are reaching out to our, that's our way of giving back. But we wish we had more people. We wish we had the internet more stronger during our days, because nobody told us that, these are some of the mistakes, these are some of the pitfalls that you can fall into, and then you have to crawl your way out. There was nobody to tell us. We figured our way out. So it's nice that you people are lucky to have, people guiding. I'm not referring to only to myself. I'm referring to everyone that you guys interact with.
again
And
to thank
then you guys
guidance.
should just take it like a sponge and just put it in your head.
Yeah. So before I just end the session, I would like to thank ACM India and all the chapters present here. There are 6 chapters here,
Right.
and at the same time, all the very best for you, Anvitha ma'am, and
All the best to you, all of you. And I would have a very tiny request. There is Tan and Neha Kale on this call that we are having. If they can turn the camera on, I want to take this picture for myself.
Okay, so that tan is me only, ma'am. I
Oh,
have joined
so what do we do
other
about
group.
that now? Okay, so I'm going to take this. Okay, please
Yeah.
smile. Sapna, you've been such a sweetheart. Okay, I got it. Wait 1 second. Yes. Thank you very much.
thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you for the time.
Thank you, people.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank you
so
so much,
much.
ma'am.
It was real fun interacting with you. And we